Right, shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto YAHAWAH, SHAM, YAHAWASHI, RACHAA, QADASH, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to you brothers out there on the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. And I was just watching this video, man. It's crazy. I want to deal with communication, man, because communication is very important. You know, it's the foundation of what we do. We communicate, we preach, we teach, right? That is the foundation of edification. If you cannot communicate this word, because it's a word, right? Words of communication. You cannot communicate this word to others. How then can they understand? Like if I'm speaking to you in Spanish and you don't understand Spanish, then how can you be edified? It's impossible. If I start speaking Mandarin to you, I'll be like a barbarian. All you're going to be hearing is blah, 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 blah. You ain't going to be, and you know what? You can't be edified by that. So communications is very practical. And the Lord set it up that way. All right. I mean, what else can we say? We have to preach. We have to teach. We have to speak. So we have to speak in language that people understand. Now, there is the account in Acts, the 2nd chapter, where the Spirit came down upon the apostles, right? And they started to speak in various tongues. Yeah, those various tongues were languages that people spoke and could understand. It would have been completely useless for them to speak in languages that nobody understood, because there ain't no edification in that. That's folly. But that's what they're doing in these churches, and they're calling it the Holy Spirit or the Spirit of the Lord. And it's just absolute foolishness. Because really, ultimately, the truth of the matter is that these churches are not holy assemblies. They're not the assemblies of the saints. These churches are not a part of the true ministry which is in YAHAWASHI, and therefore they're not there for you to be edified. You will never be edified in your life, right, in accordance with the word of the Heavenly Father, or pertaining to the word of the Heavenly Father, unless you learn from the true ministry, which is the men of the Lord, beginning with the apostle elders of Great Millstone. And I can attest to you that I learned and was edified more in 6 months being in this truth than all my life where I was in the church with all this bullshit going on. Because I came up in a so-called West Indian Pentecostal church. You know what that's all about. You know, the drummer and the bass guitar. Yeah, you know what that's all about, right? And these are the kind of BS that would be happening.
That's the anointing of God. It's a radical last day anointing. It's an end day anointing, an end time anointing. There it is, 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 there it is. Korabashata rabakarabashane. Holy fire! Holy fire! Holy fire! Holy fire! Holy fire! Holy fire! Holy fire!
No edification there. Anyway, what I wanted to do, I wanted to go through 1 Corinthians 14, and like I said, it's all about communication, especially among the saints. When we're communicating in regards to the ministry, communication must be done properly in order for proper edification to occur. Otherwise, it just becomes confusion. So 1 Corinthians 14, we're going to start from 12. It says, even so ye, for as much... Am I missing out something? You know I am. Hold on. I need to get the full thing because... You know what? I need to get the full thing because it's going to break itself down. But we got to talk about these things, right? So, 1 Corinthians 14:1. Follow after charity and desire spiritual gifts, but rather that ye may prophesy. All right? For he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men, but unto God. So the Most High can understand. When you speak, there's no language on this earth that you can speak that the Most High don't understand. Because our God is a God of knowledge, right? So let's say you got a guy in Mandarin and he's talking in Mandarin. The Most High know what he's saying. I might not know what the hell man's saying, man. What y'all want and all this business. I don't know what the hell, man. I couldn't tell you whether he's saying hello or goodbye. I don't fucking know. Yeah, that's how it be. All right, but the Most High know. Yeah, because obviously the Lord our God is a God of knowledge. So a man can say a thing and the Most High can hear him and understand what he's saying, but I can't. So he speaketh not unto men, but unto God. For no man understandeth him, howbeit in spirit he speaketh mysteries. So that's talking about men speaking their own mother tongue, so to speak. You might not understand that tongue because you don't speak that language, but the Most High does. All right? So, for instance, you got brothers from Holland, right? They prophesy in the Dutch, right? They can prophesy in the Dutch. I ain't gonna understand nothing they say. Or you got brothers in America. They prophesy in Spanish, in the Espanol. I don't know what they're saying, man. The only thing I pick up on one or two words, and you know, when they speak the Hebrew, you know, they speak the names of the Lord and so forth. But I can't follow perfectly what they say. And so if I was to try and learn from them brothers and they were speaking Spanish, I'd first have to learn Spanish before I can be edified. You see what I'm saying? But they're actually speaking languages. They're not just talking gibberish, some unknown language that's never been spoken for in history, that even if you ask them what they're saying, they don't know. That's not what it's talking about. Yeah? Paul was in a world where there were many tongues that existed. There was Greek, there was different European dialects and so forth, you know, different Hamitic dialects. There was Hebrew, you know what I'm saying? There was Latin, all right? There was a lot of languages. And most people could only speak their mother tongue. You know, you'd have to be a learned person or maybe a businessman or a merchant, traveling merchant, to speak the languages of the different nations that were surrounding you. That's why everyone marveled that the apostles, being from the Galileans, were speaking all these different other languages, because it wasn't normal for the average or everyday person to speak another tongue other than their own. You would really have to be like a nobleman or a traveler or something of that nature to speak foreign languages, because you wouldn't really have no need of it. It's not, you know, you wouldn't really need to. Okay? So a good example of that is if you go back into the scriptures, I believe in the book of Jeremiah, when the Assyrians came against our people, the Assyrians spoke the Hebrew, and the noblemen of Israel that were on the wall said, don't speak to us in the Hebrew because everybody can understand. Speak to us in the Assyrian because we understand your language, because they didn't want all the people to hear the threats. He said, don't speak to us in the Jews' language or the language of Judah. Speak to us in the Aramaic, the Syrian tongue, right? And the Assyrian, sorry, or whichever one. What's the Assyrians? The Assyrian, was it? Well, the Assyrians or the Babylonians? Anyway, you get the point. Speak in the other tongue. I think it was Syrian, right? And the point being is because the average everyday person didn't speak foreign languages. You understand? And it's still kind of like that today. The only reason why certain people may speak a foreign language is because that foreign language is their actual mother tongue. So their parents come from Mexico, but they're living in America, so they know English and Spanish. And the only reason they know Spanish is because their parents speak Spanish at home. And that's why they know it. But the majority of people, unless their parents, you know, taught them a different language because they speak it, most people only speak one language. In the West, anyway. All right. If you go certain places like West Africa, they'll probably speak 2, 3, or 4 because they might understand a few dialects of the same language, and then they might speak English as well. Like a Niger man or Ghana man might speak Chi, and then speak English as well, because English was the conquering language. Yeah. You get what I'm saying, all right? But it ain't talking about no unknown humala shala, all this bullshit that you saw in that video. Nothing to do with that. That's something else. That's Satan. So anyway, for he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men but unto God, for no man understandeth him, howbeit in the spirit he speaketh mysteries. But he that prophesieth speak unto men to edification. And that's what you're supposed to be doing. When the whole purpose of us gathering together in an assembly isn't to speak to the Most High, it's to speak to other men. When I go out there and I prophesy in the streets, I'm not talking to the Most High, I'm talking to men. When you preach, you're not talking to the Most High. You're preaching, you're talking to men. So you need those men to understand everything that you're saying. Yeah? Makes sense? It's practical. Right? That's the whole point of the congregation coming together, to edify one another. Yeah? But he that prophesieth speaketh unto men to edification and exhortation and comfort. He that speaketh in an unknown tongue, and by unknown it means a tongue that you don't understand. Like, for instance, Spanish to me is an unknown tongue. It's not talking about unknown as in some new tongue that you just make up on the spot that you don't even know what it's talking about. No, unknown tongue is you run into some Donny and he starts speaking, him and his brethren, and you don't even know what them man are talking about because them man are speaking Arabic or some shit. Yeah? He that speaketh in an unknown tongue edifieth himself, right? Edifieth himself, because when you're speaking in your own language, you can understand yourself. Now, when these people these lot here start talking,
that's the anointing of God. It's a radical last day anointing. It's an end day anointing, an end time anointing. There it is, 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 there it is.
That hakarapa shapa, all that crap that he was talking just now. If you were to ask him, okay, translate that into English, what were you saying? He don't fucking know. It's bullshit. So he ain't even edifying himself. It's bullshit, man. Come on. Right? He that speaketh in an unknown tongue edifieth himself, but he that prophesieth edifieth the church. I would that ye all spake with tongues. Right? Now, when he said all spake with tongues, again, he wasn't talking about and you don't even know. You don't know what you're saying. No one knows what you're saying. No, he's talking about I would that all of you speak different languages. Because obviously that the Bible tells you that this word had to be preached among all nations. And all nations speak. Let me look at how many different languages there are on the planet. Yeah, you can guarantee Esau knows how many languages, because there ain't no people on the earth that this man ain't fucked with. But anyway, about 7,106, you get me? Now, what you probably find is, because of colonization and these things, there's probably maybe about 4 or 5 languages that if you know those 4 or 5 languages, you could probably speak to anyone on the planet. English, French. If you know English, French, probably, yeah, English, French, Spanish, Dutch, probably. Let's see. Because at one time, most of those languages were like lingua francas. They were like languages that most people used to cross-learn. So you can find that if you know a good, maybe English, Spanish, French, you can probably go to most places in the world and be able to communicate with at least someone that's around. And that's why a lot of English speakers don't bother to learn other people's languages. Because you can go to a lot of countries and the people there speak English because of colonization. It's like a lingua franca. French is another one. You can go to a lot of places in the world. Most spoken languages. I know they're probably going to come up with Mandarin because there's like a billion of them. But I mean... right, so the top languages. Yeah, so you got Spanish, Arabic, English, French, Portuguese. But then, like I said, you'll probably find that across countries, English is like a lot of people for that speak English probably as a second language. And then probably number 2, maybe French. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. See, so English takes the crown as the most common second language, and the world with 55 countries speaking it as a second language. France and RACHAA are second and third with 14 and 13. So yeah, French. If you could speak French and English, you're doing good in terms of being able to communicate. All right. And like I said, the purpose of the ministry is to preach, to speak to people. So that's why Paul's saying, look, man, it's good that if you can speak these different languages. It's all good, man. We love that. We need that. That's how the gospel, if the only language we spoke was Hebrew, or the only only thing we speak in is Greek, then that's a lot of people that are going to be left out. You know what I'm saying? So he's saying it's a good thing, yeah. I would that ye all spake with tongues, but rather that ye prophesied, for greater is he that prophesied than he that speaketh with tongues. Right? And it's better to have the understanding and to be able to relay that understanding in that one language that you have than to be able to speak in tongues, but you don't have the ability to prophesy. You understand? For greater is he that prophesieth than he that speaketh with tongues, except he interpret, that the church may receive the edifying. Yeah? You understand? So you need interpretation. Now, interpretate that. No, ain't nobody that can interpretate that. It's foolishness. That shows you it's garbage. Now, brethren, if I come unto you speaking with tongues, what shall I profit you, except I shall speak to you either by revelation, or by knowledge, or by prophesying, or by doctrine? And even things without life giveth sound, whether pipe or harp. Except they give a distinction in the sounds, how shall it be known what is piped or harped? Right, so if a harp never had the different tones, right, then how are you going to understand the music? How are you going to understand the changes? Yeah? For if the trumpet giveth an uncertain sound, who shall prepare itself to the battle? So that's another example. You might have a certain tone or certain, note that has a meaning, but if nobody knows, if no one can't discern the tone or discern the meaning, then, all right? So you have to have understanding. So you have to do things in a way where people can understand. So likewise, except ye utter by tongue words easy to be understood, how shall it be known what is spoken? For ye shall speak into the air. So when you speak, you need to speak in a language where people can understand, and you need to speak in words that people understand. And if people don't understand the word, then you need to teach them so that they do understand. Right? Because that's the only way that a person that can be edified. All right? There are, it may be, so many kinds of voices in the world, and none of them is without signification. Therefore, if I know not the meaning of the voice, I shall be unto him that speaketh a barbarian, and he that speaketh shall be a barbarian unto me. Right? It's like two people trying to have a conversation, and one speaks Swahili and the other one speaking flipping Spanish, man. It just ain't gonna work, man. You're just gonna get frustrated. Yeah? You have to come to an understanding of what each other is talking about. Even so ye, for as much as ye are zealous of spiritual gifts, seek that ye may excel to the edifying of the church, because that is the purpose of the ministry. Ephesians, the 4th chapter. The sole purpose of this ministry, right? Why we go out there and preach, is to edify the elect, to grow the elect in the spirit of knowledge and wisdom. And if you ain't doing that, you ain't doing nothing. It's not to sing and dance and to have cookouts and all these. That's not the purpose. You could do that all that without the ministry. What is the ministry all about? Read it in Ephesians, the 4th chapter. Go read it. The perfecting of the saints through the edification, which is in YAHAWASHI. Wherefore, let him that speaketh in an unknown tongue, meaning a different language, pray that he may interpret. Meaning you need someone to be sent that can interpret what you're saying to the people that you're talking to. So this brother speaking Spanish, you need another brother that speaks Spanish and English, and when he's speaking, he could interpret it to me, so I can understand it. Okay, cool, I get it. Yeah? For I pray in an unknown tongue, my spirit prayeth, but my understanding is unfruitful. Yeah? What is it then? I will pray with the spirit, and I will pray with the understanding also. I will sing with the spirit, and I will sing with the understanding also. So what does that mean? For I pray in an unknown tongue, my spirit prayeth, but my understanding is unfruitful. If I start learning a prayer in Spanish, but I don't know anything about what the words in Spanish means, my understanding is unfruitful. If I'm going to pray in another language, I need to understand what it is that I'm saying. So when we learn the Hebrew to send up the Hebrew prayers, we also learn what the words are, what they mean in Hebrew. Or if someone else is speaking in Hebrew or praying in Hebrew and you don't know Hebrew, you need to learn what those words mean so that when you pray, you understand. Now, how does that fit into this madness that they be doing? No, it don't fit in at all. Because they don't even know what they're saying. The people around them don't know what they're saying. Nobody on this planet knows what these people are saying. Nobody. Absolute madness, man. What is it then? I will pray with the spirit, and I will pray with the understanding also. I will sing with the spirit, and I will sing with the understanding also. So you're supposed to speak with understanding, that you understand what you're saying. And if you're teaching someone, you need to teach with the understanding that they understand. Else, when thou shalt bless with the spirit, how shall he that occupieth the room of the unlearned say amen at thy giving of thanks, seeing he understandeth not what thou sayest? For thou verily givest thanks well, but the other is not edified. So there's no point me doing that and everybody else in the room, or there's man in the room that speak French, then I need to arrange for them to have an interpreter. Yeah? I thank my God, I speak with tongues more than ye all. What does that mean? You think Paul was standing up there going, oh my lashala, he was doing the full, hold on. You think Paul was doing up?
Yeah, see that coming on you? That's the anointing of God. It's a radical last day anointing. It's an end day anointing, an end time anointing. There it is, 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 there it is.
Nah, mate. Paul weren't doing up all that babbling. Paul could speak actual languages. He could speak Greek. He could speak Latin. Right? He spoke many tongues. He was a very learned and high level dude. And there's nothing wrong with that. All right? He was a top don in the infrastructure. Yeah? But what did he say? I thank my God I speak with ye tongues more than ye all. Yet in the church I had rather speak 5 words with my understanding, that by my voice I might teach others also, than 10,000 words in an unknown tongue. So if his congregation speak Hebrew, he'd rather speak 5 Hebrew words than speak 1,000 words in Latin with no interpreter. I mean, that's just common sense, right? Brethren, be not children in understanding, howbeit in malice be ye children, but in understanding be men. In the law it is written, with men of other tongues and other lips will I speak unto this people. By the law, it's talking about the law and the prophets, yeah? Because they used to call all the old writings the law. And other lips will I speak unto this people, and yet for all that they will not hear me, saith the Lord. Wherefore tongues are for a sign, not to them that believe, but to them that believe not. But prophesying serveth not for them that believe not, but for them which believe. Yeah? If therefore the whole assembly, I don't like that word church, it shouldn't even be there. They made that they added up that word in. Yeah, the word there should be assembly. Yeah, the whole assembly. The congregation or assembly, that's what it should be. If therefore the whole assembly be come together into one place and all speak with tongues, different languages, there come in those that are unlearned or unbelievers, right? So they need the edification more than anyone else. Will they not say that ye are mad? Right? For if all prophesies, everyone's chatting in their own language, and there coming one that believeth not, or one unlearned, he is convinced of all, he is judged of all. And thus are the secrets of his heart made manifest, and so falling down on his face, he will worship God and report that God is in you of a truth. How is it then, brethren, when ye come together, every one of you have a psalm, have a doctrine, have a tongue, have a revelation, have an interpretation, let all things be done unto edifying. So it's like, look, man, I can't have everybody just, you know what I mean, throwing in the thing. And no, you have to do everything in order. And that's how you get the edification, so that one at a time, so people can understand. Okay, get your interpreters up. Speak and let your interpreter speak. Speak and let your interpreter speak. Yeah? If any man speak in an unknown tongue, let it be by 2 or at most 3, and that by course, and let one interpret. Yeah, so someone has to interpret what he's saying to other people and do it in pieces. Yeah? If any man speak in an unknown tongue, let it be by 2 or at most by 3, and that by course let one interpret. But if there be no interpreter, let him keep silence in the church, and let him speak to himself and to God. Yeah? So if you ain't no interpreter for your language, and the people don't speak that language, then you might as well just hold your peace, because there's no point. And let somebody who can edify the people speak. Let the prophet speak 2 or 3, and let the other judge. If anything be revealed to another that sitteth by, let the first hold his peace. And this is all parliamentary process, yeah. For ye may all prophesy one by one, that all may learn and all may be comforted. So he's teaching the church about proper communication, which leads on to edification, yeah, right? And the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets, for God is not the author of confusion. Yeah? And that's what Esau loves. Esau loves to bring confusion and chaos. He loves that. That's what he's doing right now with Trump, and he loves to cause confusion and chaos in order to manipulate the people. Because people in a confused and chaotic state cannot come to any logical conclusions. And you don't want people coming to logical conclusions when you're aiming to deceive and manipulate. You understand? So Esau loves it, man. Esau knows how to bring confusion, man. How to inflame situations and get people shouting backward and forward and get emotions flowing instead of dealing with things in an edifying manner. Okay? For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in the churches. Oh, there we go with that stupid word again. The assemblies of the saints. Let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. Right? First of all, everybody ain't supposed to be speaking. And the thing is, we living in a world now where everybody has a podium. In the ancient times, only wisdom spoke. Now the town fool can speak just as much as the wise, and have as a big platform. And if you don't believe me, that's what social media is all about. And then Esau will even take fools or people playing the fool and give them the ultimate podium to talk madness. Really and truly, it's not supposed to be like that. And when you get a podium and you're talking and everyone's listening to you, you get proud as well. You can get proudful. You get prideful. Yeah, because you think you're the ish when you just chat and breeze. But in regards to women, all right, the women and the way they communicate, right? Their communication can bring confusion. Now I'm gonna show you something. And we all know this because we deal with women, man. We're not homosexuals. And a lot of times when you're dealing with a woman, situations occur and it all comes down to communication. Because you're saying one thing, or you're just on two different wavelengths, man. Because a lot of times the way the man is communicating, which is straightforward and logical, isn't matching up with the way the woman is communicating, which is from an emotional standpoint, and that can cause a clash. And sometimes then you need to understand that and take a step back, dead it off, and come back again and try and tackle it a different way. And because it be like that, because their brains operate differently, man, in the way they think and observe situations, and sometimes that leads to confusion. All right, and if you don't identify it, the confusion can only get worse in that situation. Now, something as serious as the assembly, well, we can't afford that. When you're there for edification, you can't afford confusion and chaos for no reason. So what is the solution to that? Let the women be silent. There's an old saying that prevention is better than cure. Because as soon as you have a bag of women talking and emotions start getting involved, then the emotions start taking precedent over logic and truth. And then you have a bag of arguments for no fucking reason other than someone's feelings. And that doesn't lead to no form of edification. Especially when you trigger a woman's emotions, right? You can forget about any form of fucking logic or winning that argument based upon logic. You can forget about it because logic goes all the way out the window. And I see it all the time. As soon as, well, people in general, but women even more so, because you got men, as soon as you allow your emotions to control you, logic goes out the fucking window. And the point is that women are more given onto that because they're the weaker vessel. They're more given onto that sensual nature. Because there are a lot of emotional ass niggas out there. You don't believe me, then all you got to do is bring up the grape doctrine, the grape scriptures, and you're going to see a whole bunch of emotional niggas, man. And you can't even have a logical conversation with them because they're emotional as fuck. But that's what happens. So a lot of times, to be honest with you, if you wanna communicate with someone and get your point across properly, the best thing to do is avoid triggering their emotions as much as possible. And now you get people who purposefully trigger people's emotions in arguments. That's not going to solve the argument, and that's not going to get to a, trust me. And you see it, even if you watch these podcasts, you see people having conversations, and people will say things purposefully that they know is going to trigger the other person's emotions, and then the whole thing descends into chaos, and no edification can come from it. Why? Because you just wanted to have an argument now, so you triggered their emotions. So now anything you say, doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong, it's not going to have no effect because they're in an emotionalized state. So that's a understanding as a man, that whether you're dealing with men and then especially with women, you need to, but if you're going to have an argument or you're going to have a discussion, doesn't mean you don't speak the truth, but certain times you got to season your thing with salt, because as soon as you start triggering emotions, you might as well not have that conversation. You understand? That's the point. The moment you've triggered mad emotions in someone and they're in their feelings, you might as well leave that discussion for another day, because you ain't going to get nowhere. Ain't gonna get nowhere, trust me, because they're not gonna have it. Emotions is a serious thing. So anyway, let me play this.
When a man talks, he says what he means. And men and women communicate very differently in my experience. So when men speak, they say exactly what they mean most of the time. And when they listen, they also take the words that are being said as literal meaning. So they'll take what's being said and that's exactly what they're going to do, or that's exactly what they're going to respond to.
Straightforwardness, straightforward communication. That's manliness. Men are given onto that straightforward communication. Right, that's the generality of the situation.
Women, in my experience, many women, this is always just generalization, but women do it completely different. what they say is often not what they mean. So when women talk, they often expect a man or someone else to read between the lines and work out, if you like, what she actually means when she's saying some words. And when a woman listens, she also does this when she's listening to someone talk. She'll hear the words, but then she'll try to find meaning in between the words and make it mean completely something different, which can cause a lot of problems, obviously. And
it can cause a lot of confusion, and that's what you don't want in the assembly of the saints. That's why the scriptures say it's better that they remain silent.
Confusion. And I'm a woman, and I've done this in the past, and I tried to break down what it is. So as a woman, when we speak, we often speak from what we're thinking. But as women, we're usually heart-driven, and we're driven by our emotions. So what we're feeling is really important, and that's where the real meaning is.
Yeah. So and then so your feeling becomes right, and logic goes out the window. So you're there trying to argue with this person and trying to prove something to them logically, but only thing they care about is how they feel, and how they feel is what's right. The feelings is what's right, not the actual logic of the situation. All right. So you can't, at that moment in time, there's no point having that discourse. They need, their emotions need to be need to subside in order to get to any logic in there. All right. That's some advice for you, especially when you're dealing with women. Once they start getting emotional, just leave it, man. Just leave it, bro. Just leave it. It's not. You're just gonna frustrate yourself, man. End up catching a case or something. You know what I mean?
So when we communicate as women, we need to make sure that we're connecting in with what we're actually feeling at the time and communicate those words instead of just using our brain. So men and women are quite different like that. Men talk more from just the mind, whereas women need to speak more from the heart and actually say what they mean. So this is a whole learning curve for...
Yeah, but the learning curve ain't meant to be happening in the assembly of the saints. So that, you see, the scriptures it says what it says for a reason, man. And that's another reason why women are not fit for leadership. Because when you're in a leadership role, you're not supposed to lead by emotions. You got to lead by the spirit, right? Because basically, what's emotions? Emotions is basically the flesh. Yeah, the carnal mind. Yeah. Listen, emotions are so strong. If you allow emotions to govern you, your emotions will justify any wickedness that you want to do. And that's why there's no limit to the wickedness that a woman will do. Because when a woman is feeling hurt or feeling some kind of way, that hurt will justify anything. I'm telling you, there is nothing it won't justify you. And she could look at you today and tell you, oh, I'd never do that. Oh, yeah, she's telling you because she's not in an emotional state. The minute she gets in an emotional state, that logic and all integrity can go straight out the fucking window, and you find out that you're dealing with Satan himself. And that's just the truth. Because they're so susceptible to their emotions, and your emotions can justify. What do you think justifies adultery? Emotions. Oh, I felt this, and yeah, it just felt something is so wrong. How can something so wrong feel so right? Murder, a lot justified by emotions. It's all emotions. It's all the sensual nature, the carnality. And when you allow your emotions to govern your actions instead of the spirit, then only wickedness can come from that. That's why it says from women cometh wickedness, because they're the weaker vessel, so they're more susceptible to the carnal, to the flesh, to the emotions, man. And that's why we got to keep them on the check. You got to keep them on the subjection, man, for their own good. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, they could be right, but they could also be very fucking wrong. So you got to be there to be like, yo, hold up. No. Don't do that. Calm your ass down. Yeah? So everything is, listen, the Most High know what he's doing, man. Everything is set up for a reason. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I was watching that TikTok and it just reminded me of this. Let your women keep silence in church. It's a communication thing. A female communication has a high potential of becoming very chaotic because of that disconnect between logic and what they speak, you know? And that can cause a whole bag of confusion. And I've seen it myself, man. Even anywhere I've worked, the main problems that happen is between the women. They just have all these fucking problems, man. Because men are more straightforward, even down to if they don't like you, they'll be more straightforward about it. And you just deal with it. You know, these women, there's a reason they call it bitchiness, man. Underhandedness, you know. Anyway, let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it's a shame, right, which is guilty, for women to speak in the church, right, to speak in the congregation. It's just not their place, man. But, you know, through feminism and through slavery, women are being pushed into the forefront. No, the men are supposed to be in the forefront. The men are supposed to be the leaders and the nobles. And if you ever hear a woman, she's speaking under a man saying, okay, you could say what you're saying, but when I tell you to shut up, you need to shut up. Not you're there and you're just openly, like you're running things and you can just open your mouth and speak this, that, and the other. Nah, it's not supposed to be like that, man. All right? Because you're dealing with a situation and your woman get emotional. Next thing you know, she come and chat some madness and everything goes south. And that happens a lot. All right? You know? Just start running your mouth, man. Chatting breeze. Okay, yeah, that's the point on that. All right? So, yeah, communication is very important, man. Very, very important among the assembly of the saints, man. So with that, I'm going to say shalom.